if you're lactose intolerant, you can't watch this movie because it's got so much cheese.
Sorry, yeah, I gotta go. You guys can do this on your own.
Nope, end it there. You agree 100%. I'm right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Flicks Fellas podcast. I'm your hostess with the mostest, Kevin. I'm here with my pal, James.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, James. And my less pal, Joey.
What?
Shit.
I'm less pal?
I can't curse
kidding.
in the first minute.
I'm the one who hasn't been annoying this whole time.
Here with Joey Amato, Second Floor Squad.
Rip.
And we are here, regroup. We're here talking about a film. I'll call it a film. Cherry. It's a 2021 American crime drama film directed by the famous Anthony and Joe Russo, from a screenplay by Angela Russo Ostat. Is that his wife, maybe? And Jessica Goldberg, based on the autofictional novel of the same name by Nico Walker. The film stars Tom Holland, Ciara Bravo, Jack Rayner, Michael Rispoli, and Jeff Wahlberg, as it follows an American Army veteran suffering from PTSD who resorts to robbing banks to support his opioid addiction. So, as we usually kick it off, first impressions, first thoughts. We didn't discuss this before, so I'm going to catch someone off guard here. James is looking like a deer in the headlights. James, what are your first thoughts on this movie?
So, my first thoughts on this movie were this was, like, not only was it a long movie, but it was a heavy movie. Like, this is not a casual watch. This is like, you're sitting down and you really want to see, like, a good film. You know what I mean? And then that's, like, you kind of got to be in the headspace of, not only is it, like, I'm sitting down for 2.5 hours to watch this movie, but I would be on an emotional roller coaster that is mostly going down. You know what I mean? Overall, I think it was a good quality movie. I'm not huge into the I've seen a couple movies like this where it's like it is a very, like, tragic story and there's a lot of, like, lows and it kind of like and we'll talk about it as we go, but it's almost like as you get into the movie it's like the waves keep coming, you know what I mean, and things keep hitting and stuff like that. Like, it's like domino effect. It's like everything hits harder than the last thing. But I definitely think it was a very well done movie. The acting was fantastic. There's definitely a few points that I there were points where I had to walk away from this movie. Like, I had to, like, stop watching it because it was, like, bumming me out, like, real bad. And, like, I don't know. I liked it a lot. But ultimately, I think it was a very good film. I don't necessarily think it's my favorite film. But I'll pass this one over to Joey. Joey, what did you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this was a very hard-to-watch movie for the right reasons. Not hard to watch because it's bad quality, but just the fact that the content of it is so intense and, like, very, like, disturbing to watch. The major gripe I had with this movie, because I thought it was very well done, it was very creative, the acting, like you said, was amazing. It was about 10 years too late. It should have been made 10 years ago. It shouldn't have been made today. I don't think it has the same relevance that it would have carried if it was 10 years ago. So, yeah, I think it was a great movie, great acting. The writing was a little hit and miss here and there, but overall I enjoyed it. It was very long, very disturbing. It was not a happy-go-lucky movie, not something you're going to walk away with, like, feeling good, you're going to question. But I think we also wanted to talk about something we forgot to mention was who was this movie made for? The demographic of this movie, I don't think even is war veterans. I think it's, like, families and loved ones of war veterans, because it's something that you have to, like, it gives you the insight of what veterans have to go through and what kind of shit that they deal with out in the battlefield and through training and what they come home to. And I think it's supposed to give you an insight into what that life is like. So I don't think this movie's made necessarily for veterans. I think it's made for the families and loved ones of veterans to kind of better understand the feeling that they're going through.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you guys said. As far as who's watching this movie, I would agree, Joe. I think anybody who wants to sit down and like it is an interesting story. It is a true story, semi-true story. So it is an interesting watch. The story
Tom Holland really did all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no more Spider-Man movies.
Oh my.
He no,
Homecoming went downhill.
My first impressions was that it was not that great a movie. It was very long. It felt like a 2 hour and 20-minute movie. I knew I was sitting there for 2 hours and 20 minutes. I think the directing, they got kind of overzealous. Like they got kind of too like, we're so artsy and cool and like here's this cool symbolism like that. I was like, it's not that cool. But to James's point, the acting was incredible. If you're gonna watch this movie, I would almost say you're only watching it to watch Tom Holland's performance and Ciara Bravo, because they were both incredible through and through. Tom Holland really showed his range through this movie, so I was very impressed. But that would be kind of like a big draw to the movie, I think, if you want to watch like a truly
good acting showing.
Yes, yeah. Thank you. Just a showcase of Tom Holland's skill. It
definitely shows off like his ability, like, and his range as an actor, because especially like, you know, we've got a lot of Marvel knowledge in this group, but we've watched a lot of Spider-Man where he's like this kid. He's almost like the kid little brother, right? And that's who he plays. But in this movie, he plays like this is all adult themes. You know what I mean? And it's like it puts you through a lot of stuff, and even through the movie, I feel like you can see Tom Holland's character grow. And like I think it was a really good it's the acting almost, you know, sells the ticket, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
But to Kevin's point about like it being kind of like long and the pacing kind of being off, I think that was by design, and I think it's to make you feel the pain and struggle and make you want to look away and walk away and put it on pause, and you just can't, because it's just the reality of what the content of this movie is, and it's about PTSD and soldiers and their reality of what they have to deal with out there and the lack of training that they really get versus what they're really dealing with, and how they have to come home and basically have no support after it's over. So I think the intensity of it and the length of it is meant to be kind of an exaggeration of what the content is.
Yeah, no, I like that. Like, I like that kind of headcanon. Like, oh, it was meant to, like, you were meant to feel that long pain and that long kind of stab through the whole movie. But I think the direction just like didn't hit those punches. That's one of my notes is like those punches didn't land. Like those gut punches never really landed for me. And like the suspense never really held up for me. So like I feel like I get what you're saying. Like that might be the direction, but none of what happened in the movie really sold that to me. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will say
so. I would like to believe that, but I don't. I don't know.
Yeah, one positive takeaway I did take away, and this is a bit. I know this is not the spoiler segment, but this is a bit of a spoiler. If you hang around to the end, Tom Holland, mini mullet, and a mustache, kind of looks sick.
Yeah, they did age him up a little bit towards the end of that movie. Mm-hmm. I might bring back the mustache.
Mm-hmm. We need to add like 5 to 7 years. What makes him look older? And Tom's like. Mustache and mullet.
Yeah, that was actually a big gripe I had with this whole movie, is that I never felt like they looked like the right age. Usually when you watch like kids in college or kids in war, like it's always like a 40-year-old playing like an 18-year-old or a 30-year-old playing an 18-year-old. This one felt like it was like 12-year-olds playing 18-year-olds.
And my biggest problem, I'm going to be honest, Joey, this entire movie, and I had this issue, and I don't think everybody has this issue, but the female actress, what's her name again? What was her character's name? Emily?
Emily.
Her name's Emily. Yeah.
Emily. Emily was played the little sister on Big Time Rush, and I literally could not see like. And I didn't watch a lot of that show, but like I looked at the actress, and I'm like, you played a little sister in something that I've seen, and like I get it. Like, people get older, right? Like, she's probably like 25, you know what I mean, or 20 something, whatever. And but like her engaging in like the super adult themes, I was just like, no.
Yeah, it felt disconnected.
Yeah, you saw half her nip in one scene. So
yeah, I was just like, I don't like this.
Did I miss that? I must have missed that.
I don't know. I mean, there was a
half
lot.
a nip.
I've got like a
half nip.
Hey, I've got like a nip radar. I'll send you the timestamp.
Okay.
I do. I have a nip radar.
So insensitive, Kevin.
She's 24, James.
Yeah, 25. I said 1 year too early. Again, like, and that's the whole thing. Like, she's an adult. You know what I mean? Like, do whatever you want. It's just the fact of like, I remember like her face is very distinct. Like, it's very like, she's a very, very recognizable face. And like, I was like, I know you from somewhere. And last time I saw you, you were not an adult. And this is a very adult movie. This is a very adult movie.
It's funny you say that because I don't want to out you or anything, James, but I was on the phone with my sister Kate before I jumped on the recorder, and she asked me about Cherry because she knows that I was watching it for the podcast, and I said, yeah, like Tom Holland was great, and she said, how was Ciara Bravo? And I was like, I don't know her, but she was really good. She was like, she was the little sister in Big Time Rush.
That's what I just said. I said that when I started.
I know, but what I'm saying is, I didn't really know what Big Time Rush was. Like that.
I had no idea until James just said that.
Yeah.
No, I remember seeing her before, and like I was like, I know this person, and then I looked up IMDb, and I was like, oh, she's the little sister on Big Time Rush, and I was like, I didn't think I watched a lot of that show, but for some reason I remember she was the little sister on Big Time Rush. Oh man, right, that came out like 2016, so I was not young.
You had too much hair on your balls to watch that show.
Yeah, I was gonna say I had no idea what that was, and then Kev was just going with it, so I was like, oh, maybe I should know what this is.
Yeah, I think I was like, I don't know. 2016? What was that? 6 years ago? So it's like 20.
5 years ago. 5. Math.
Oh my ding dang! I don't think it wasn't 2016. It had to be earlier than that. I don't know.
Here, should I get so the listeners can have some peace?
Let's get a fact check. A live fact check.
Get a fact check. Figure out how old I was when I saw the show Big Time Rush.
Fact checking right now. Actually ran from 2009 to 2013.
Oh, so it's not. I mean, I was like a teen. I was.
You were still too old to watch the show, James.
Excuse me. I was 15. I can watch whatever I want, Joey. All right, whatever, man.
Yeah, so I think I don't know where everyone's gonna land at the end of this. Actually, before the spoiler section, I think it could go either way.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. It's gonna be like the decision for this movie. I definitely could see it swinging either way, and I think the conversation's really gonna dictate it.
I'm gonna guess before the spoiler sections.
Call your shot.
No guessing.
I'm gonna guess 2. I'm not gonna guess who or what. I'm just gonna guess 1 play and 2 keep scrolling. That's my guess.
Okay.
Should
I put who wants to put money on it? Anybody? I don't think
I'll put a 6-pack on it.
You can't
bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we can gamble. I think that's illegal.
We can gamble. We can do whatever we want. 6-pack.
All right,
and whatever it is, I'm just going to make sure I'm going to be the last one to vote, and I'm going to make sure that I win.
That's some instant hotel shit right there, if I've ever seen it.
Yeah, great. All guys, you know what? Hold on, pause real quick. If you have not watched Instant Hotel, the TV show on Netflix, go watch it. It's fantastic. There's 2 seasons. Season 1 and 2 are very different. Great show.
I've not seen that show.
Oh, James, you're missing out. It's very HGTV.
Or whatever the hell it was. What was that show?
Australian Airbnb show. Amazing.
I'll have to take a look.
But
yes,
I digress.
Top recommendation. Anyway, I'm guessing 2 keep scrolling, 1 press play. Stay tuned for the end of the episode to see that. If you do want to go watch the movie, go watch it now. Come back. Listen to the rest of the review when you're done. If you're not going to watch the movie or you've seen the movie, hang tight for the commercial break and we'll get into all the spoilers, what we really think of the movie, what we thought was stupid, what we thought was funny, what we thought was really good.
There's definitely nothing funny in this movie.
Yeah, there's no laughs. I had 0 ha-has.
I have written down in my notes here an LOL somewhere. There is. I wrote LOL somewhere, so there is a ha-ha.
Oh, there is one. There is one. I do have one. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that after the break.
Yeah, after the break. And we're back. Thanks for staying tuned or coming back if you've already watched the movie or went and watched the movie. Welcome. to the spoiler section of Flicks Fellas. This movie made it very easy for us. It is split up into a bunch of different sections, and they're nice and labeled right before they came up. But essentially follows the life of Cherry. Is that his name? They don't really say if that's his name or not, really.
They credit him as Cherry in the end credits, but in the novel that it's based on, which is also broken up into the 5 parts, he's unnamed. But I believe the author is like Nico something.
Nico Walker, and
Yeah.
they do not use his name. They do not call him Cherry or call him a name throughout the movie. Anyway, it is broken up into parts.
We should just make up a name. I think we should just call him Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Well, in the credits, they do call him as Cherry and Cherry's mom, Cherry's girlfriend, Cherry. Like, so we can say Cherry, but
we can call him Cherry.
The main character we refer to as Cherry or Tom Holland for reference.
So yeah, they broke it up into parts nicely. Starting out when he's at home, I think, like I said before, even from the beginning, Tom Holland just kind of nails it. Even though in the beginning he's literally kind of just playing Peter Parker. No, like a kid.
It's
New York.
like it seems like a. But he doesn't seem like the smart kid in class. He seems like kind of like he's in school just to be in school. You know,
right?
Like he's in school because like other people, like people, that's what people do. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And then like they talk about, I liked the sequence of like his ex-girlfriend like stuck with me super hard, and I don't know why, but like I was like watching that, and I was like, that is literally like a special layer of hell. It's like going to a party you don't want to be at, and like your girlfriend is like the girl on the table, like, you know what I mean, or whatever. Like I don't know, I just feel like
it's funny that you mentioned that scene because I knew that this movie was long, and I knew we were talking about like what we could potentially cut. And I couldn't think of any scene that I was like, oh, that should be cut for the sake of the movie. That you could cut. That whole storyline is completely cut. Like, there's no point to it. It's kind of just like to show you that he's a good guy who gets treated poorly, but it didn't play out to anything.
Yeah, I don't even think he's a good guy, dude. Like the first real dialogue in the movie, right? He's sitting in class and he sees Emily, like the love interest of the movie. And he looks at her, and then he's like, I don't want to be rude or whatever, but I just want to like F her. You know what I mean? It's like what he says, you know? And like it like really sets the tone of like what the character is and what the movie's going to kind of be about. But like I definitely think that the sequence about like him going to like his girlfriend's college and like that that just being like a depressing experience for him, like there's enough depressing stuff in the movie to, you know, sell that.
But keep in mind though,
the
movie is 100% tragedy, but keep in mind that so the first half of this movie is all pretty much narration, which is kind of annoying, but it's narrated from the perspective of the adult Tom Holland. So I think that's the mindset you're seeing and the perspective you're seeing after he's been through all this shit. And like, I think that's why you get that feeling that he's not a good guy. But also, it does give a sense of realism. You know, there's people who sit in class and just think about that, check out girls, and don't really like pay attention. I don't think he's that type of guy, though. I think he was just like, I fell in love at first sight. And that's what I felt. Like,
yeah, no, you're right. There's no hero to the movie. He's not supposed to be like
this good guy.
He's not like a.
He's just a guy.
He's not a moral compass.
Good guy. Yeah, he's not a moral compass. Obviously not. It's a tragic story about this dude who just like went like just had some really.
But even before all of that, I think this is what we're talking about. Like, I feel like he is like a good guy. Like, he's a normal kid, a normal guy who just got his heart broken, and that resulted in his life spiraling into where it did. Like, I don't think he was necessarily like a morally, ethically chaste kid by any means, but I think the point was to show that his girlfriend at the time was like, you know, the stereotypical college girl who gets around and doesn't really respect her boyfriend, and like, because he's not there. And he's the type of guy who respects the girlfriend, who's making the effort to go see her, who loves her.
On her.
He openly says, "My girlfriend thinks I'm a bitch."
No. He kind of cheated on her before they broke up, I think.
I don't think they never say when they broke up. But again, the whole storyline of her is kind of irrelevant and pointless. And that should have been cut, and I think that would have saved 5 minutes maybe. Like, it's very minimal.
Anything.
Yeah.
But that was part one. So like part one is like essentially his college years, right? And he's like a kid, and then like he goes and it goes through, and like he meets Emily, and he does some substance abuse, right? Like there's like substance abuse is a huge theme in this movie, but like the first. I remember this is the scene where like there's a scene where he like meets a few of his friends and they trade basically like Xanax for ecstasy, and that's when he kind of like hooks up with Emily. Is like that's kind of like what is going on in this. It's basically like I think that the biggest thing in this whole thing is like you're introducing the characters and you're also like connecting Tom Holland's character or Cherry with Emily, and then like they're kind of like the blooming of like their love story, like culminating in when she comes back and tells Tom Holland after they start like actually dating, and he expresses that he loves her. To Tom Holland's character says to Emily that he loves her. She expresses that she's trying to move to Montreal to try to get away from him, you know? And like...
Yeah, because she is not a victim, but she's experienced her parents' relationship as cheating and abusive and like corrupt, that she doesn't want that, and she kind of wants to stay like single, free, and like not fall into the same relationship that her parents did. Yeah, so once he says, I love you, she gets scared and does the thing of I'm gonna push away and
causes
move away,
all the issues in the movie,
which causes literally the entire issues, and she acknowledges it.
This is her fault.
This is kind of when she was. I thought she was gonna get mad. So like essentially, right. So this is the sequence of events: is she breaks up with him, says she's moving to Montreal. They don't really talk about it, and then he gets very depressed and very mad, and then joins the army because he wants to find like basically the next thing. Like so, he wants to get some structure in his life, and then. Like a few days later, or the next scene, I have no idea what the amount of time is. They see each other again, and then she's like, "I'm not moving to Montreal. I don't want to get away from you." And
she's like, "I love you," and he's like, "Well, fuck."
I joined the army.
Well, fuck. I just joined the army. Yeah.
Awkward.
What a fucking drastic step. You're like, man, like I really liked her. She broke up with me. I'm gonna go join the army. Is it hard to just like not join the army after you've already enlisted?
No, you're like, I think it's like once you get past a certain point, it's like you're in.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Okay, so that's the other thing that I want to point out is that this part of the movie takes place in 2002, you know, right after 9/11, kind of early Iraq, Afghanistan war. And because we're now 20 years, 19 years separated from this, it's very hard to be in that mindset as a viewer who, granted, we were a lot younger when this happened, so it isn't as relatable, but that was a big issue I had, was just trying to stay like in that mindset of like, okay, this is a time when the country was in the peak of a war. You don't, even if you did sign up, you don't just back out because now the girl says I love you type of thing.
Yeah, but he, like, I don't know. I just felt like, because I get that, like, especially in movies that touch on that and like that time period where there was like a surge of patriotism. People were enlisting, like people wanted to go to Iraq because of what happened with 9/11, blah blah blah. We don't have to get into all that, but to me it seems like he wasn't the character to really give a fuck about the army and like what was going on. So like I feel like if he had the option to just like get out, like he would have
found a way
gotten out. Yeah, just like his character.
No, and that's what makes me, because I had the same question. I was like, can't he just be like, never mind, I changed my mind, or just not show up to basics?
No, they're gonna fucking tie you up and throw you in the fucking back of a
like.
No, I think that there is like a certain. Again, I'm not enlisted. I've never been enlisted, but what's it called? I'm pretty sure that there's a certain point where it's like, you know, you're past the point of no return. You know
what we need on the show. Because we watch movies with a lot of like war, we need like a phone a friend, like veteran or something who can tell us like thing. The accuracy of some of the war shit.
Or we could just speculate.
There was some stuff with the last movie, or we could just speculate.
Yeah, because he says basically that he signed up and then the next day that like he was in basics essentially, which I don't think it didn't happen that fast in the movie. It didn't really. I don't think it happens that fast in real life, but that's what he narrated as like it happened that quickly type of thing.
Can I give you my gripe in this section of the movie, in this first section when he's at home?
Please do.
That is the content we're trying to create, so yes.
There is a line when Tom Holland is at the ex-girlfriend's place at college, and he says something about the bed. She sleeps in a bed in her dorm that's too small for two people. And then they show the bed, and it's
huge.
fucking
Massive.
huge.
Mm-hmm.
It's bigger than my bed. Like it is. It's like a California king, and I'm like bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
You can fit.
And he's like,
40
and her
people in that
roommate
bed.
left for the weekend, which is nice. It's like, okay, so
but
what
I
are you
still
complaining
slept on the
about?
floor with dog food.
Yeah, like,
I was very rattled by that.
that's what I'm saying.
because-
That whole sequence of events and storyline could have just been cut and was not relevant. It didn't need to be talked about. It didn't need to be said. It was just kind of like didn't add anything. It only added like plot holes, and I don't think it.
It raised questions that like were never answered, and no one really cared to answer. You know what I'm saying? Like
Exactly.
It was like nobody really knows when the relationship ended. Nobody really knows what her name is, and like this, it was almost just to like I feel like it was meant to set the tone early, but like trust me, you're good. Like you have enough to set the tone early. You know?
Yeah. How did you guys feel about all of that with like characters not really getting much names or like acknowledgement of who they were, and then
That's all like style choice for the director. It's
no,
all
I know that's what
symbolic.
I want to know what you guys thought about that and the fact that like they don't really show parents or family. Like it's very much just about like
The characters.
Cherry and Emily. Yeah.
Look, I love Joe and Anthony Russo because I am a big Marvel fan, and I think they've been the best directors for that movie series. And Community is incredible too, which they did. But man, like it just felt like they were, like they thought they were hot shit directing this movie. Like the symbolism, I don't know, it just seemed kind of fucking stupid to me, or like it didn't land. And like I get what they were trying to do, but it was too fucking in your face. Like the sergeant's name was like Sergeant whomever, and then it's like the bank, and then
I
like,
fucking loved that.
No,
I loved
thought
the
it was
naming of the
fucking
banks.
Stupid.
No,
I thought, like,
You know
I
what?
get
It added such a little extra detail of the sense that it was like, okay, we're not talking about necessarily totally real life of it's like, oh, it's Wells Fargo Bank. This is called The Bank. Then it's called Shitty Bank. Then it's called Bank Fucks America. Like, I like those little details. I think.
I get that. Like I get, but I just thought like the tone of this movie, like they should have just told this story as it was, just like a tragedy. Keep it real dark. Stupid shit like that is just like weird direction styles that kind of pull me out of it. And I'm
It's, like,
like,
too
am I watching
contrary.
an art piece or am I watching like a tragic film about this man?
No, see, I think, but here's where I disagree with that because of the time relevance that I hate to say it, but the war is not as much of a concern on most people's issues anymore, and the fact that like soldiers aren't as much of an issue because we're not in active like we're not as intense in active war zones right now that like it's not much of an issue that they did have to make it more of
it's
an
not like we're
artistic
Desert
movie
Storm anymore.
to keep it kind of relevant. Exactly. It's just like this was a play on total culture and not just war. It was like banks are the villains here in this story, but also at the same time there was a lot of artistic choices that I didn't like the fact that they like blacked out the faces of the bankers. I didn't know what the point of that was.
I actually really liked that because I think it was like one of those things that they tried to sell the fact that like, right, so like essentially they in the beginning of the movie they explain and they introduce Tom Holland and like his group of friends, and he's trying to go basically pay off something at the bank because they're charging him because he had a negative balance, right? So he pays the negative balance that he had, but because apparently it didn't, like the check didn't clear like the day it was supposed to, they charged him again, and he didn't have enough money to pay the second charge. So
here's
it's like,
the thing.
but like let me finish. Like I liked that they didn't like listen. I'm just like, let me just finish because I was like explaining the premise
Yeah.
of the point.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
I cut you off a lot. My bad.
No worries. How dare you? How dare you talk on our talking podcast?
Shut the fuck up.
So essentially, like, I just like that it was like it was a faceless person until, and obviously I'm jumping forward. It was a faceless person until Tom Holland was robbing the bank, and then it was like, oh, the silhouette becomes a face, and it's like, because it's like the bank fucked you over, but you're stealing from like Cheryl or like whatever the fuck her name is, you know?
Okay, so I agree with that. I get the point that they did, but I think the symbolism is reversed in that when you go to the bank, you are trying to make that personal connection with the person behind there so that they give you what you want, but the banker sees you as kind of just this ambiguous object, and that he should have been blacked out face, sorry. No. Let me correct that real quick.
Cancel Joey.
Let me correct that real quick.
Joey got canceled.
There was no lighting on their face, so you couldn't
Yes,
see
it was
any of their
silhouetted.
detail.
They were a silhouette.
Yes, it was a silhouette,
Blackface.
not
Cancel
dressed
Kevin.
in blackface.
It's just a James podcast now.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna take a step back real quick.
I just think that the directors got like too excited about like it just got like too in your face, too like I don't know. I think it should have.
I think it's just because you know them and you like them from what they've done, and you don't want to see them like.
No,
I agree that it's much more artsy than a normal film, but at the same time, I think a lot of it nailed, and I know a lot of it. I also looked up a lot of reviews, and a lot of them did complain about that too. But I kind of liked it just as a unique take. But
like Shitty Bank and stuff like that.
I
thought that was amazing.
It was like it felt too forced for me, like too like tongue in cheek. Is that the?
I want to be the
expression?
guy that's job it is to like go like, all right, we need 10 banks that have dumb names. And we need you to make logos. Because the logos were kind of sick.
Kind of fresh.
Speaking of that, did you also notice how they called the cheerleaders the Denver Mustang cheerleaders instead of the Denver Broncos?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just thought that was funny.
Branding.
They like just completely rebranded everything. And I just liked the fact that they did that and separated it from real world, but also was like, who cares what bank it is? They all fucking suck. They all are going to treat you like shit.
Just a fucking bank. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin,
you look like you are perplexed.
No, I was just kind of going through my things. The other note I had, which I did like about the direction, was, man, I love Van Morrison. And I'm glad they used 2 Van Morrison songs in this movie. I was like, wow, this is so nice.
I did not pick
just
that
a little,
up.
I didn't pick that up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a music guy. I told you. I couldn't even tell you when music was playing or not playing in a room.
So that's part 1. Part 1 is essentially college. Like, the world sucks. He, like, girlfriend breaks up with him. He joins the army. Girlfriend gets back together with him.
And we didn't talk about how he says, I love you, like, right off the bat. He's like,
right
I
away.
love you. Like,
Well,
and she
right,
says, she drops
right
a,
after she
"Thank
just
you."
said, I don't believe love is real.
Yeah.
And then he says, I love you. What did you expect? Did you
And she
expect,
goes,
you like, why? She says,
Say
thank you.
dumb
Of
shit.
course. That's the only appropriate response there. When I tell you I don't believe in love, and then someone says, I love you to me, I'm just going to say, okay, thank you. And then literally walk away like she did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that scene. Yeah. But you, again, preface it with that she said, I don't believe in love. Right
you
before,
really
literally,
shouldn't.
the
You shouldn't.
words before he said, I love you, were, I don't believe in love.
Yeah.
So,
I'm at that scene now. I'm still trying to find the nipple timestamp for you guys.
Oh my god. Are you literally going through the movie right now trying to find...
I'm watching the movie right now. I'm at the I love you and thank you scene. That's kind of what snapped into
so
back.
let's go to the second portion. So the second portion of the movie is when he's in
basic.
Yeah.
Yep.
Basic training, yeah.
That's
I had
rough.
no problems with basic training and the war part of this movie.
I thought it was interesting. I definitely think it was brutal. Like it was the war aspect. So right, like I feel like the war aspect. Of
Wait,
the
let's
camp-
stick with
of-
basic first, though. Because
I'm saying
part
basic,
3 is Cherry, which is the war part.
Yeah, basic war. Like these 2 parts, basic being a big part of it, is literally designed to like basic is designed to break you down. Like that's what this felt like. You know what I mean? It was like constant bad shit happening, constant like he feels horrible about his decision to join the army. Constant, like, you know what I mean?
It was
like,
in your face, you're a grunt, you're a piece of shit, you don't matter type of, like, for 10 minutes, just constantly being yelled at. My biggest gripe with the whole first 3 parts of this movie is that it was all told through narration. There was very, very little dialogue, and it was just constantly him talking about it, which, like, I don't mind the use of narration. I like it when you're setting up a scene and telling a world and introducing characters, fine. But when you're telling a movie in 5 parts and 3 of them are told in narration, like, that's where I'm just like, okay, what the I literally had it written still, like, what's the point of here? I don't even know what anyone sounds like in this movie.
It's like they're trying to knock off like Goodfellas or something like that.
Yeah, a little bit.
I got a very what's it called vibe? I got a very like Goodfellas. I got a Quentin Tarantino vibe from this movie.
Nah, I didn't
don't know
get
if that was just me.
I almost got a little bit of Wes Anderson.
Maybe.
Just kind of like the comedic but angry type of, not totally Wes Anderson, but just
It was very. Again, I'm very like I'm of this group. I'm definitely the biggest movie dumb, big dumb brain. But like, I feel like
smooth brain.
Yeah, I'm smooth brained. I'm smooth. Kevin's got like medium.
He's the smooth
brain.
cucumber.
Yeah, I'm the smooth cucumber. Yeah. So we were I don't know. I got a vibe from it. It's very, very style. Like this movie is is shot and given and presented in a very stylistic way, and like that is very consistent, which I liked. Like other than what Kevin's saying about like the different labels and things like that, but I do think that like there really isn't a lot of comedic moment in this movie. It's more just like the constant tragedy. It's like tragedy without being too dramatic. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't play into the dramatics of it. They just kind of like show you like a crappy situation, and then the characters make decisions that make it worse. You know what I mean?
Again, I think that the directors just needed a way to make an Iraq War movie relevant in 2021. Like
the way you say Iraq is very strange.
I realized I've never said it like that. I never say Iraq. Iraq, you know. No, I've just never like. There's been so many movies done about it. We kind of know already, like the story of PTSD and the coming home and the tragic. So I think they just needed like a way to make this movie feel unique and kind of like a reason why we should watch it now.
Yeah.
20 years later.
Yeah, I think that's also to your point of like you think it should have happened at a different time. Like it's a very good idea. It's just like you wish it struck when the iron was hot, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I feel that. I definitely think that this is a movie about like that timeline. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Speaking of, have you guys ever seen the movie Brothers with Jake Gyllenhaal, Natalie Portman, and Tobey Maguire?
That's a good movie. That's
I kind of got similar vibes to that. It's a shitty situation. It sucks for the veteran, and it's just another coming home type of story that I thought was told in a much more relevant timeline.
Listen to this movie, dude. Dude is married. He has a brother.
Yeah.
Dude goes to war.
Goes
MIA. Doesn't come back.
No. They suspect him dead.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
He doesn't like go AWOL, but yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Suspected death. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Years go by.
Tortured for 5 years. Wait, tortured for 5 years.
POW.
Bad times.
Years go by. Tortured.
Bad times.
The brother marries his wife because they think he's dead. Then dude comes home and he's like, what?
Yikes. Do they have kids?
Yes. I think they have 2 kids.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yikes. That's a big yikes.
Again, I don't think that one's a true story, but
no, I don't.
Great concept.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like a good movie.
I think it came out in 2009, I want to say, so it was like a much more relevant time when these movies should be coming out.
Yeah. To be fair, Tom Holland was way too young to shoot this movie in 2008.
Believe it or not, there are other actors.
What?
Actually, wait, speaking of that, that's 2 Spider-Mans.
We're talking about... Oh, you're right, that is 2 Spider-Man.
Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, Tobey Maguire, wasn't that? Yeah. And isn't Jake Gyllenhaal in that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Spider-Man bad guy. Yeah, Mysterio.
Mm-hmm. Dude,
classic.
I want all of the Spider-Mans to do a podcast together and just call it 3 Spider-Men.
three Pete's. That's what it should be called.
3 Pete's.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think it was like too out of place, too out of time. Like I think it's still relevant. Like the stuff they're talking about, PTSD. There's still guys coming back with PTSD.
Yeah, and
like,
I think it's definitely relevant. I just don't think it's prevalent.
Like talking about like the pill mills and shit like that. Like
it's not about relevant. It's not about the current. It's not a current movie. Like it's a movie that's probably like about a decade ago. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think it's
a decade ago.
Yes.
Yeah. No, the book came out in 2018, so you really can't make it obviously before that. But right. I think it's just because that's when the guy was released from prison, I want to say, and that's when he wrote the semi-realistic autobiography.
You're right.
But I just almost think that it should have never kind of been made. Not that it's a bad movie.
That's a very, very aggressive stance there. You're like, I had a really good time. I just really liked it. I just think it should never have been made.
It should not exist.
Great quality movie, great acting, great message. Love the message.
Don't make this.
There could have been a way to. I don't know.
Love it.
Let's move on.
Great message. But if I could go back in time, I would
kill
stop
Tom
this
Holland.
movie.
Kill the Russo brothers.
Oh my gosh.
Boys, 22 minutes and 2 seconds if you're looking for a half a minute.
Oh my Lanta.
I'm
Okay,
just
we're gonna get us canceled before we even get started.
I
Okay,
know.
all right,
I
well-
hope we get canceled.
All right, we're gonna start a
Gen
poll.
Z's
If
on
we're
a
gonna
war
cancel-
page.
If we're gonna cancel one person of the podcast, who is it?
Oh, Joey wants to
Clearly
do
Kevin.
blackface over here.
Oh my god,
I didn't want to do it. I said that's what happened
guys!
in the movie.
I'm here to announce that I'm doing a solo podcast.
I'm editing this podcast, so reality can be whatever I want.
I
It's
am
gonna-
You're
the
editing
master.
until you realize that you have no idea how to edit, and then you say, "Hey Joe,
It's-
can you
That's
edit
so
this one?"
funny.
It's gonna be like that scene in Fairly Odd Parents where it's like, and I
Stole
my mom's
purse.
purse.
And I cheated on my math test.
But it's like, and I cheated on my math test.
Fucking love that shit.
Okay.
So we
Okay,
talked
part
about,
three.
Part 3.
All right, yeah, let's get to the war.
Part 2 is just, we talked about it loosely, I think. We talked a lot about the movie in general. We didn't really talk about part 2 a ton. It's just him in basic. It's rough. It's a bad time. Part 3.
Yeah, not much really story-wise happens.
He trains to be a field medic.
We need our resident veteran here to tell me how accurate that was to basic training back then.
So I've had a few friends that have gone through different types of basic, because like the different branches have obviously their own trainings, but like it's not different than that. Like what I saw in like them doing like taking their pants off and duck walking across a room is totally something I could see in like a story that my friend would tell me. You know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of like they tell you to do stuff and it's to break you down and so that you don't question order. You know what I mean? Like it's like
Right.
if a superior tells you something, you just do it, Like no matter how ridiculous, no matter whatever, you do it, At least that's again my speculation. I was never in basic training, but
How about this? If you're listening to this and you are a veteran, please
let us
comment on our YouTube channel or follow us on Facebook and let us know, and we will do a fact check in our
Also,
next episode.
thank you for your service.
Yes, and thank you for your service.
We appreciate it.
I actually might be able to get someone.
I have one friend.
We'll talk.
Kevin,
I
why
might-
don't you sign
might-
up for basic real quick?
I might have a war guy, actually.
Yeah, I played a lot of Call of Duty.
Yeah, I played a lot of Gears of War. Huh?
Fuck off.
All right, so that was basic training. Nothing really significant.
It's more of a setup chapter.
Yeah. He's just
All right.
getting verbally abused by his
Mhm.
fucking.
Next one
drill
is
sergeants.
Cherry, which is the title of the movie. That's chapter 3.
This was the most exciting part of the movie.
Agreed.
Really?
I thought
Yeah.
so. Yeah. I definitely don't think it was the most tragic. I think it was probably the most exciting. 'Cause
Oh, dude, it's up there in tragic.
I mean, yeah, his in this part of the movie, he's like obviously trains to be a field medic, and like there's points in like where he has to do some pretty gruesome stuff in an active war zone.
Can I wait? Hold on, time out real quick because I'm clearly on a different page than you guys. Did you guys really feel like it was actually an active war zone by any? Again,
there was
never
fighting
experienced
going
it
on.
myself. Never
They
been
called
in
it the Triangle
to the
of
Middle
Death.
East. Of course, yeah, they said that there's shooting. The guys are shooting in all different angles. You never see a militant combatant. You
do.
never see.
You do. You absolutely do. I do. I remember a scene where you do. They were fighting on a hill. Yeah, they were fighting on a hill.
They show the mountains that they're shooting at, and I saw nobody. I don't see bombs going off because there are bombs being dropped, not just guns. There are bombs exploding on this war zone, and you don't see any type of machinery that could launch.
It was probably a mortar, which can be fired from very far
No, it was
away.
probably an IED.
No, because it wasn't. It was
No,
a
they
moving
definitely
caravan.
targeted.
Yeah, it wasn't a moving caravan. It was like they were pinned
No, they
down.
left. Hold on, stop. Hold on, pause. That truck left to go back to get.
No,
like,
not talking about that part. Not talking about that part. We're
Oh.
talking about the first,
No,
the
leading
first,
up to it.
the cherry, the popping of.
Oh,
like,
yeah, it was
Yeah.
probably a mortar. And Joe, to my understanding, and obviously, disclaimer, did not go to Iraq, did not fight in Iraq, but from other movies about the war in Iraq, and from what I know, that's what it was like they were in the hills, and like you were just firing into the, like, you're in the desert, like the
combatants.
the combatants were in the mountains, like just hiding in the mountains.
I get that, and I believe in that, and I obviously not questioning the reality of it, but it felt very random to me. Like, you have one truck shooting to the left, one truck shooting to the sky, it didn't seem like there was, like, there's a military combatant, like, on the mountains. Like, they showed people shooting at a mountain, and, like, then you could literally very clearly see the outline of the mountain, and there's nobody there. It just didn't feel like a real threat was there.
Yeah, there was one panning shot that I think they did with a drone where they were flying over a ridge and there were people like laying down behind rocks shooting at the truck, and those were combatants. Like those...
Kev, can you get us the time code for this?
Yeah. Well, this isn't as fun as the nipple.
I don't know. I just thought that it didn't feel very realistic, and it just kind of felt random. But not obviously, I don't know what it feels like to be out there. I'm sure that they are just kind of shooting randomly because they're trying to, cause distraction. And...
Well, it's also guerrilla warfare, right? Like, it's not like you're like...
Mm-hmm.
It's not guerrilla warfare.
Why?
What, the Americans? We don't...
No. What the combatants, like, basically the people from Iraq, like, when they were fighting the Americans, it would be like they pop up at, like, people, like, literally, like, pop up out of nowhere, take a bunch of shots at a convoy, try to blow something up.
Yeah, it wasn't like we were fighting, like, a military. We were fighting,
you're not going
like,
against like other
groups.
Huge trucks. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, it's they're attacking patrols and like doing what they can. Again, this is what I've surmised from news, other movies.
Okay, we're just gonna one final disclaimer. None of us are veterans. None of us have been to war. None of us, I believe, have family who have been to war, at least in this past 2 decades. But
I think we need to say it at least 4 times, though.
Yeah. We're talking for a cinematic purpose right now, not necessarily for a factual historical purpose.
I think they were in like a valley though, which would make sense as to why they're shooting like 4 different directions.
Yeah, and regardless, I don't think ultimately I think so. I don't know if it's like so like they say the line he popped his cherry when he like did his first, like he had to run to the front lines, basically put a guy back together, pull him back from the front lines, and then put him in a helicopter, right? But I don't know, like, I didn't know if that was why they called the movie Cherry, or if, like, the guy's name was Cherry. I
think that's why.
That was the moment that kind of everything started to spiral. He suffered some PTSD from that moment, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it kind of, like, created the rest of his problems. Yeah, because I remember he went back, and the sergeant, like, that was, like, the big line, is the sergeant's like, you popped your cherry.
Yeah. I also want to point out that this was the section of the movie where the most comedic moment happened, and they say, we're going outside the wire.
Yes. They do say that in this movie.
Yes.
Tom Holland says
like,
outside
no
the
way.
wire. And I was like...
That can't be a real saying.
Well...
Yeah.
Actually, I'm coming up on that line right now.
That's so funny. I love that you're literally watching the movie as we're doing the podcast.
Well, you're asking me... It's they're kind of in like a divot-type valley.
They're in a divot. It's an open, like, desert field. There's a couple mountains.
There is behind it, yeah.
I never felt like there was a real threat in that sequence. But that's just me, obviously.
I think that there's, like, definitely, it's, like, a level of, like, it's not necessarily, like, this huge, scary threat. It's just, like, it's, like, slowly, like, plinking away at this, like, larger army. You know what I mean? Because they say, like, 8 guys died today. You know what I mean? And it's, like, this is day 4, and we still have a year here. You know what I mean?
I think, Joe, the purpose, though, was that we weren't watching this action scene to see like a typical war movie where we're like, yeah, kill the terrorists. But it was like we're watching the horror on the ground that Tom Holland and his partner, the other field medic, have to deal with.
Most infantry has to deal with
so
and sees on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, they shot that combatant, and you're like, yeah. It's more like, holy shit, like, they're trying to fucking put this guy's intestines back in his body. That was gross. I was like...
That was also super gross. Yeah, that was...
The CGI was not great enough where I was like, ugh. Like, it looked
I don't know. I just hate
fake.
that stuff. I hate that kind of stuff. I like...
Kev is Mr. CGI.
I can deal with blood, and I can deal with stuff like that, but once they're like, you know what we want? Meat on the ground. That's what we want to show everyone. And I'm like, I don't want to see that. So this sequence, right, all culminates in... his friends going off and then their truck getting blown up by an IED. Like, that was rough.
That was a sad part, but again,
that's
like
when I had to walk away. That was the point where I walked away.
That didn't like the action of like that happening didn't really like gut punch me, but Tom Holland, watching him act and watching him react was more impressive than what the movie did. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get that 100%.
Whereas like it
saying,
happened and they burnt and they blew up and you're like, oh my gosh. But I didn't really feel the impact of it until
you saw him break down.
You saw Tom react to it, and that's where I'm kind of like.
Can I chime in on that real quick?
Yeah.
I think that goes back to, again, what I was saying is that we've now heard these stories for 20 years of what veterans have gone through, what they've seen abroad, and like what they've had to like, the atrocities that have happened, that we're almost numb to it now. That seeing it doesn't really do anything, but the acting behind it of seeing how it affects the other people that were there, that's what's more like impactful.
Yeah, but I still go back and watch like Saving Private Ryan, and like that movie still like chokes me up and stuff, and that was World War II.
Yeah,
so,
but
like,
that wasn't a tragedy. Like this movie was like I would say that it's like I wouldn't say Private Ryan. No,
James, you're canceled now too.
No, that's an action.
James just said the Holocaust wasn't a tragedy.
No, that's not what I said. I said that Saving Private Ryan wasn't a tragedy.
It's
you know what, Kev? Edit it so that he says that the Holocaust isn't a tragedy.
I'm James, and I think Saving Private Ryan is a tragedy.
No, it's like what I'm trying to say is like that movie is like I definitely think you're right, Kevin, that like that definitely has super heavy moments, but I definitely think it's more of like this movie. It's not like you feel like there are these heroic characters that are like dying in combat. It's like there are these like characters that are like they are like obviously like, you know, they're soldiers and they're like but they die because they run over a bomb. You know what I mean? And they're his friends. Like they're like, it's not like.
I think what you're kind of bringing forward is, to me, that the movie didn't affect me emotionally at all, but the acting did. And that's what brought it together, was the acting. No imagery, nothing that happens in the story really gut punched me or evoked an emotional response, but Tom Holland's performance did, which is a testament to how well he performed in this movie. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think it was one of those things that like I walked away from this because like I saw the car turn around and I was basically like, something bad's gonna happen. Like I was like, because I was like, it's been too long, you know what I mean? And he's too happy.
Well, just been sitting there.
And to that point, I literally had written in my notes of this. I was like, what are we watching for? Like, I still didn't understand what the whole point of this movie was. And then obviously I knew it was a war movie, but I didn't realize how far it was going to go into the after effects of war. But I was wondering why. And then once that happened and you see him, how it impacts him, you realize where this kind of is starting to go.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the domino, the real domino, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So end of that section, the IED goes off. Tom Holland gives a great performance after that IED explodes.
Kills his friend.
It kills his friends, yep.
Yeah.
And so, and then he goes home. And that's the next section is home.
Dope Life. Or is that not Dope Life? Is it Home then Dope Life?
No, Home is first.
Dope Life. He goes home. He reunites with Emily. They buy a house, or she bought a house while he was gone with the help of his parents.
His parents bought the house for them, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of where they lead into. I'm trying to think. I was literally just.
That's when he gets hooked on like he gets home and then he like drinks too much and then he starts doing he gets a prescription for some kind of drug and he just does too much of it. You know?
No, well, it's literally when he's taking drugs by himself. He's self-medicating, and then he finally gets professional help, and the help is, have you heard of OxyContin? Let's get you on that. And then it's the just downward spiral because now he has a prescription and logic reasoning behind it. And
exactly. And then he moves forward. It descends. So the problem is created right by the PTSD and the trauma that he is like endured as like a soldier. You know what I mean? And then like he comes back as a veteran, and like people are like yeah, you go to something and like he becomes addicted because he's trying to basically like, you know, he's trying to fill the wound, or he's trying to like
that scene is to talk about, which was a big issue back then and still a big issue now. Obviously the opioid crisis is a huge crisis in the United States, but really caught some ground during that time with I said it before, but like pill mills. So like that doctor didn't give a fuck about like his PTSD,
his mental being,
wasn't trying to cure that, but like at that point, pharmacists, there were some dirty pharmacists who would get like kickback for prescribing like OxyContin and these opioids, and he was just like, just take OxyContin and you'll be fine, which has nothing, would not help
you're just
his
treating the symptoms,
PTSD at all. Like that doesn't even, like, how's that?
It's literally meant for pain. It's not meant for mental.
It's a pain med. So like that
and there's definitely there's
interesting.
levels of like medication that you need to like kind of like get into therapy.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he wasn't really trying to help him. He was just trying to like.
But he was already on Xanax. He was already prescribed Xanax for his anxiety. So like I don't know. That was an interesting scene. Also, that was the dude from Reno 911. Was the second?
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah.
I think this whole movie kind of goes into like kind of how corrupt our military can be, in the sense that they kind of pry on young guys who don't really have much family home, don't have much education, and are not trained properly to deal with what they're going to do and see overseas. How he was saying, like the one guy at the bar back in part 1 when he was still in college, he's like, oh, are you ready to put a bullet to a guy's head and blow his brains out? Like, it's harsh and it sounds like theatrics, but it's real. Like, that's what they got to do. And like,
it's part of your job.
They're not prepared to come home, or
I don't think anybody
government
is
not
don't
prepared to.
Yeah,
there's not enough financing and resources to, actually help these people when they get back. And I think that was a big message of this movie, was that we need to really like take care of them and not just kind of be like, oh, you did this thing, thank you, move on.
Like you drill these people, right? Like you take these people in like some of the most like impactful and like developmentally important years of their lives, right? And then you drill into their heads like these like basically fight or flight, or like it's like always fight, you know what I mean? Like it's like you're programming them essentially, right? And it's like when you go back to civilian life, and it's not like like it's at least of what it seems to me is like it's the gears aren't hitting the same, right? Because you're essentially like you've like done so many drills, and like during your like highly developmental process you've been hitting this thing in a certain way that like when you get back and things are like more relaxed, it's just like you're not okay. In addition, like whatever trauma, like he experienced real ridiculous trauma, and he never got support for it. He never reconciled. Like he never he never really treated he treated the symptom. He didn't treat the problem. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads right into the last part of the movie, which was Dope Life, when he's now so whacked out on OxyContin. She's and heroin. They're doing heroin.
Yeah, he pulls
She's
his wife
also,
into it.
Yeah, she gets pulled into it because she can't deal with his shit. Because
Emily and him also get married during the movie.
They got married.
They got married back in like part 2 or 1.
Like 2. Yeah. Right before he goes. When they get married.
And so now they're doing and it leads into what I thought was the whole movie was supposed to be about him robbing the banks. Turns out, barely the
last
movie
30
at
minutes.
All. yeah.
Well, part 5 is like 45, 50
part
minutes
5.
long. It feels like it's over half the movie.
I think honestly, like all of the parts, like I think that Cherry and then the last part were the most important parts of the movie.
It just didn't need to be this long. Like there's so much shit that could get cut that it was just like give me a movie, like show like a quick thing about him at home. Then he goes to war, gets fucked up, and then he comes back and he starts robbing banks. That's more infinitely.
Yeah, well, he gets addicted to drugs. His wife gets addicted to drugs. They get into like hard drugs like heroin. His wife almost ODs. The only way they can pay the bills is to rob banks.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it could have been, this whole movie could have been done quicker and more efficiently than it was.
But I think that was part of the artistic choice, was, like you said, to just really draw it out.
I don't fucking buy it, Joe. I don't fucking buy it.
I'm not getting what you're selling.
This is not a typical like war movie or drug movie or PTSD movie. This is an art movie. Like this is meant to be an artistic statement piece, which is not what you expect from the Russo brothers or Tom Holland or whatever. But I think that's what they were trying to do, and I think part of that, just how they did, like made the whole MCU exactly 3,000 minutes because that one line of "I love you 3,000," like I feel like that's what this was. They play to the sense of that the entity of the movie is part of the story, and the sense that like how long it is affects the story. If you kind of rush it, you don't get that same impact of
Yeah.
the intensity behind it and the like the
I think you
dramatics
would
of
have
it.
had even. I think if you cut it down, you could have spun the story in a way that those punches do hit. Because like even when it was elongated in 2 hours and 20 minutes, the suspense and those punches really did fall flat for me. Like even though like I didn't feel that attachment. I didn't feel those gut punches at all.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, Kevin, but I do think that, like, to Joey's point, right? Like, it's one of those things that, like, it's supposed to be constant, right? Like, it's like there are big lows, right? But, like, the big lows are as low as they are because, like, the entire time you're, like, walking down. You know what I mean? You get to a point and it's like, boom, his, like, wife almost ODs, you know, and it's like, you know, and like that's the reason that it's so long. But I definitely think that there's like sequences of like 5 minutes here and there all over the place that you can be like you can almost cut his friend out of the movie. You know what I mean? Like Joey, like you can cut his friend basically out of the movie. And like
no, I do agree that there are. It is long. It's not an easy watch. It's not. I don't think. That's where I'm conflicted if I'm going to like suggest this movie or not because it's very long. It's very hard to watch. It's not, but.
The bank robbing is not like the focus here.
No,
like,
which the trailer would like you to believe.
Yeah.
But it's
how easy is it to rob banks?
Movie. That was my other question: is how easy is it to fucking rob a bank? This man robbed like 17 banks. Granted, it's like 2004-ish time. No social media, not great high tech, but like
he doesn't have a problem. Like he's just like chilling. Like he's chilling in his house. He's like, gonna go rob a bank today.
Pretty sure the first time he didn't even have a gun.
Yeah. No, and there's so many cameras that have his face, and he literally owns a mortgage. You would think that the cops would find out who he is and just show up to their front door. Like, he robbed like 18 banks. This is absurd.
his boss called him. He's like, "Did you rob a bank today?" And then he's like, "I'm fucked." And then he's like, then his wife was like, "Well, guess you just can't leave the house for a while." And then they never talked about him getting caught.
Never once. Yeah. Yeah, that was the big gripe I had with it. It didn't. I mean, again, I'm pretty sure that part of the story is true, is that he was a bank robber, and that's why he went to prison.
It is.
But it
looked so easy.
It makes me wonder, why are we all not robbing banks?
I know. Let's go do it. The TD down in Richboro.
You cannot show this, this movie to like a kid, an impressionable kid. You know what I mean? There's a lot of bad stuff in this movie that doesn't, like, it definitely ends in bad, but it like
it
doesn't.
Is rated R. There's half a nip.
There's half a nip. But there's it also like I feel like it like super is in favor of the United States correctional system at the end of the movie there. Like it was very like he wasn't in, like, the sequence wasn't super long, but it was basically just a montage of like him getting better until he leaves and is like a functioning member of society. You know what I mean?
With a mustache and a mullet.
And a mini mohawk, not mohawk, mini mullet.
They did a good job there.
Well, that's where I kind of disagree. Again, now we're veering because I personally felt like the whole movie was such a slow burn and drawl that like I was kind of shocked that they went through that last like 10 years of his life just so quick, like boom, 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 image, fast, done. He's out of prison. Like I was expecting it either to end with him in prison or kind of like pace it differently. That's where I do have an issue with the pacing of the movie. But how did you guys feel with the final plot twist of the movie when she is still there for him? And then he shows up at the very last scene.
This movie failed to hit me with many gut punches or emotional responses, and like that, I was just like, thank God this movie is over.
Yeah, I can tell you, I got emotional when I thought she was going to OD, and like that point, I was just happy that she was alive. If I'm completely honest, like at the end there, I was like, at least it's like I feel like it ended in a place where I'm like, okay, I'm okay with this movie. You know what I mean? Like if she was dead and he comes out and it's just horrible again, like I don't know. Like movies that leave me like that. Like again, there's movies that people love movies like that. I'm not that guy. But like I do like that he walked out and she's like with him and he's obviously been clean for however long he's been in jail. You know what I mean? So it's like hopefully she did her thing in rehab. He did his thing in jail where he's, no longer addicted to opioids and like
I would have been fine with this movie, like, going that route of, like, this is just a straight-up tragedy and nothing really works out. Like, I think that's okay sometimes in movies, that there always doesn't have to be, like, this neat little bow that makes it, everything's okay. But, like, I didn't really, like, care either way at the end of this movie, so.
Yeah, and that's the part where I kind of struggle with because I'm like, it's a semi autobiographical film that like I don't know what was true or what not. Like I don't know if she actually was there. I don't know how long he was in prison for. We don't know like what was actually true. And I kind of wish it was a fully true story to either be a full tragedy, be a little less dramatic maybe, but I think it would have been more interesting to see like the reality behind it because I feel like it was kind of a little just like, oh look, everything does work out in the end, or true love prevails all type of thing.
They do show how long that he was there in the beginning of that
It
when it
was
says like the epilogue.
2007 to 2021, I think it was. But he got out. The book was released in 2018. Was
Yeah,
it
that was weird.
released
to me too.
while he was?
Like,
The whole timeline kind of just felt a little off. But I don't know. I kind of want to do a little bit more research into it, but I'm also just not that invested.
Yeah.
I feel like we've been talking about this movie for 3 hours.
Yeah, we had.
It's been about an hour. Yeah.
So, final thoughts. We started with James earlier, so Joe, final thoughts. What do you think of this movie? All in all, look at it as one unit. What do you think?
All in all, I think the biggest winner of this movie is Tom Holland. He's acting just carried this thing throughout the whole thing. I forget the girl's name, Ciara.
Oh, I had it up on my.
She did very well.
She was also an amazing actress in this.
Ciara Bravo.
Ciara Bravo. I thought that they were genuinely junkies this whole time. Like they were incredible actors. I just don't know if I feel comfortable recommending this movie now because it doesn't seem relevant to the times as much. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is a person out there who is still suffering from this from a loved one, or of course there are. I know that there are, but I think it's a niche group, and for the general public,
you gotta make a decision.
Are you
Joe.
pressing play, or you keep scrolling, Joe?
Do it. You gotta say it. First cut. Go.
You know what? It's a good movie. It's a good quality movie. I enjoyed it. I'm pressing play. If I'm going to press play on Outside the Wire, I'm pressing play on this movie.
Oh, jeez. You're stuck in a loop. James, what's your final thoughts, man? Movie as a whole.
So, this is definitely a rough movie. I don't think this is something, obviously, it's a rated R movie. Don't watch it with your kids. Watch it, this is a very adult movie. This is something, when you want to sit down and you want to watch a very good display of acting, a very good... I do think it was a good story. There's definitely times when it's just hard to watch because there's really you feel like your head's never above water when it comes to the negatives that are going on. And it's not that that's a bad thing. It's the negatives are shown in a very good way, but especially depending on your tolerance for pain, essentially, for that kind of thing when you're watching a movie like this, just be aware of it. I stepped away, and I have no shame saying that. So, but I'd be clicking play on this one. It's a good movie. They did a really good job. And, that's my honest opinion. I didn't do that just to spite Kevin.
Kev, you owe me a six-pack.
What kind of beer do you want, Joe? I'm going to disagree one more time with James because I feel like this movie is not a movie that's it tries to be heavy, but it didn't drag on me too much compared to some other movies that you're like, all right, I need a break from all this. All in all, the movie just felt bland to me. The story felt bland. The direction.
You're a heartless
style,
piece of shit.
I know.
Kevin,
I'm
you know that?
I do think there's relevance because the opioid crisis is worse than it's ever been. So I do think that there are people out there who can relate with some of the things that go on in the movie. I'm gonna cheat a little bit.
You're gonna put an asterisk on it?
Yeah, I'm gonna put an asterisk. I'm gonna say for the general public, I'm not going out of my way to stop on this movie, right? It's not going to be my first pick. I would say keep scrolling. Asterisk, if you want to see an incredible performance from Tom Holland and Ciara Bravo, I would watch this movie again. I would recommend this to people. I recommended it to my sister who's in theater. and her boyfriend, who's an actor, because of that, right? Just because of the acting. So it was good enough where you could sit through 2.5 hours of like just to watch that performance. But the movie itself, if you're just looking for a good movie to watch on a Friday night, I'm scrolling.
I want to put one more comment in that I think that this is
Not
a
allowed.
Movie.
Podcast is over. The episode's over.
You done.
Kevin
cut it.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I'll put in bonus content.
yeah.
It is a movie that I'm like proud to say I like watched and that I would talk about and would encourage people to watch. I don't think it's going to be something I like would be like, oh my god, guess what movie I watched this weekend type of thing.
Yeah,
right.
100%.
It's just very hard. It's a hard movie to watch. There's no moment where it's enjoyable. And I don't know, Kev, I just have a question. How did you feel at that moment when he leaves the hospital and is just pounding that needle into his leg? That
Like, how
I
did I
genuinely couldn't
feel?
watch that. Yeah, like what was going through your gut, your mind?
Well, I was like, wow, Tom Holland is great. Like I did in most of these scenes. I've got like a real hard on for Tom Holland in this movie.
Clearly.
But
This
do you
movie.
want to know the real first thing that went through my mind when he started doing that?
What?
No, I
It was
asked
the,
for
the scene in Talladega Nights when he thinks he's paralyzed.
Gotta
after
stick
the
that knife
car.
in your leg.
Yeah. Don't stick that knife in your leg, Ricky Bobby. That's what
so
I thought.
yeah, that's fucked up.
But I wasn't like, oh my gosh, like this is too heavy for me to even like watch. Like the stuff that like
Dude, I bet that hook, line, and sinker.
Look
I bet
away.
that hook, line,
Yeah,
and sinker.
I agree.
Yeah.
That was a hard part.
I felt the emotion there, and obviously the acting pulled that emotion out of me. But like this, I don't know. Maybe I just have a different level of like what really gets me to step away from something, or like need to take a break. Like when I watched Mindhunter for the first time, like I was binging that and I had to like step away from some episodes of that, but this didn't really get me there.
Oh, see, serial killers I have no problem with. It kind of just rolls off the bag.
Yeah.
Love serial killers. They're great.
But yeah, no, but like even like Saving Private Ryan, like there are scenes in that get really heavy. I don't think this even gets close to some of that stuff. So I don't know. I didn't feel like it, the imagery or the style or what they showed really got me to that point. But that might just be me. I think that could go either way. Obviously, it's just me because 2 out of 3 of you are saying otherwise. But
so you said so at the end of the day, we're at play, keep scrolling with an asterisk.
Play, scroll, asterisk. Yep.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean.
All right. And I'm sorry. I know this is a longer episode, but dating advice. I even wrote mine down, so I was ready. Don't drop the L-bomb on the first date, or you will become an opioid addict and rob banks.
Okay, it was not their first date.
It was their second date.
I think part one I think had kind of a rush effect to it that
It did.
All right.
felt
Let
like
me fix it.
But yeah,
Don't say I love you, or it will ruin
Ever.
your life.
perfect.
Quality.
That's what I'm trying to
There
say.
we
My
go.
life is ruined.
Yes.
All right.
I love
hey,
nothing.
I love nothing. Obviously, I'm heartless if I didn't get like punched in the stomach when I watched this movie.
Mhm.
But thanks for watching or listening. If you're watching, cool. Thanks for watching. I've been like rubbing my arms all night because I'm cold. Tune in next week. We got another killer episode.
We do.
Because all we do is pump out killer content.
For that sweet arm rubbing content.
Yeah. But thanks for stopping by and subscribe, comment, smash that like button.
Let us know down in
Also-
those comments what you want us to watch.
Yeah, follow
Yes.
us on Instagram.
Yep.
We're launching our Patreon page. If you want to support, by all means,
Yep.
give us your money. Any means, Venmo, PayPal,
If
however you
Carrier
feel
pigeon.
comfortable.
every Patreon dollar goes to warmer clothes for me, so I can stop rubbing my arms in the podcast.
No. You don't get all the money.
Oh shit. But yeah, thank you for listening. Go follow us on the socials. Flixfellas Pod. You'll find us. We're out there.
Should we do a credits? We've never done credits before.
Sure.
Yeah.
This episode of Flixfellas has been hosted by Me, Joe
Kevin-
Amato.
Joe Amato, Kevin Feige, and the sauce, James Carroll.
The sauce? That's what you're going with?
I don't know. I wanted to find a funny
The
name.
sauce.
The sauce.
James has been working on that one for a while.
Yeah, I'm sure. He's waiting to drop that.
I feel like
Okay,
it'd be
fuck
James
credits.
the
We need
Sauce
to end
Carroll.
this.
Yeah, fuck credits.
Yeah.
This
Bro.
podcast is
Okay.
over. Tune in next week for an even better movie, I'm sure. Thanks for listening.
I
Goodbye.
actually don't think it's going to be better
Peace.
next week. But
Yeah, probably not.
just kidding. It's going to be great. Bye.
Tune in.
All right, bye.
Bye.